Hey guys, thanks for coming back. We're talking about in our next miracle, Jesus casting out an unclean spirit. Now, we read about this in two different books in the Gospels. One is in Mark, one is in Luke. The one in Mark is in Mark chapter 1. Starts around 20 something, 21, 20 there. And then Luke is chapter 4, low 30s, around there. So we're going to look at both of these. Something that I really like looking at is the timing of the miracles and when the authors of the Gospels share the information. In Mark is a little more condensed in his reports that he gives us. But in his book, Mark 1, he talks about Jesus calling the apostles, "I'll make you fishers of men." And then the first thing that they do after that, they go to the synagogue. Jesus teaches in the synagogue, and Jesus casts out an unclean spirit. The first thing Jesus does after calling apostles is casting out an unclean spirit. I don't believe that is coincidence. I think Mark is probably making a point here by saying the first thing that Jesus is doing here is casting out an unclean spirit. So briefly, he talks about being baptized, being tempted of Satan for 40 days in the wilderness, getting his apostles. That's all like 20 verses. And then we're in the synagogue. The first thing that happens, he's giving an abbreviated account. Matthew has longer stories about each of these. Mark is abbreviated, but the first thing he says talks about Jesus casting out an unclean spirit. I don't think that's a coincidence because I think that is planned to show how Jesus casts out unclean spirits in the world, in all of us. He's showing how Christ's power is greater than the evil one, and that's why he is here. So I love that. I love how Mark represents that. Also, Luke, it's not the first thing. So in Luke, Jesus has done some amazing things. People know who he is. He is teaching. He is teaching the people. If you remember there in Luke 4, and Jesus talks about his divinity, and people want to kill him. And they're up on a hill. They want to throw Jesus off this cliff. So they're trying to kill Jesus because of who he says he is. Jesus just kind of walks out between them all. We don't know how he gets through these people, but he does. He just walks out between them. He sneaks out from this mob that's trying to kill him, and he goes to another town, goes to Capernaum, and starts teaching people on the Sabbath. The rest of the story is pretty similar in either account. In Luke 4:33, and in the synagogue there was a man which had a spirit of an unclean devil. He said unclean devil. I think Mark says unclean spirit. So it's very similar. Some of this is word for word between the two. But one says unclean spirit, unclean devil. The Gospels kind of go back and forth using those terms synonymously. So not to get caught up on that, but they're talking about the same thing. Back in Mark 24, the unclean spirit calls out to Jesus. "Let us alone. What have we to do with thee, thou Jesus of Nazareth? Art thou come to destroy us? I know thee who thou art, the Holy One of God." They know. So this unclean spirit sees Jesus. It sounds like getting angry. "Are you coming here to destroy us? I know who you are. You're the Holy One of God." And I think that is so awesome. And the Luke account says the same thing. "Art thou come to destroy us? I know thee who thou art, the Holy One of God." So really, these evil spirits know who Jesus is. And I find that fascinating, especially because the Jews have been waiting for the Messiah for hundreds of years. Now he's there with them. He's there in their midst. He's there with them. They don't recognize him. And because Jesus is telling them who he really is, they try to kill him. The people that have been waiting for him try to kill him. He goes to the synagogue. Someone with an unclean spirit knows who he is and has faith in him. So we have people doubting that should believe in him. Then we have the devil spirits, evil spirits. They know exactly who Jesus is, and they believe in Jesus. And they know who he is, and they're worried that they're going to be destroyed by Jesus. Pretty cool. Jesus rebuked him, saying, "Hold thy peace." So calm down, relax, I like that. Hold thy peace, and come out of him. So he's not talking to the man. He's not talking to the person that's possessed. He's talking to the unclean spirits. Hold thy peace. I think that right there is just crazy. Like there's these evil spirits. And depending on how you view evil spirits, to me, I feel like we have spirits that follow God, angels that help us in our lives. And then we have evil spirits that have rejected God, follow Satan, and for some reason, they also have, either side seems to have some influence in our lives. For good or bad. They have influence in our lives. Jesus telling the evil spirits, hold thy peace. I just think that's kind of cool. I think it's like, you've rejected me. It's all right. Relax. And I think sometimes we might see things a little different than Jesus does, of course. He says, hold thy peace and come out of him. And when the devil had thrown him in the midst, he came out of him and hurt him not. Mark says it a little different, but it sounds like the man fell to the ground and I think Mark uses the word torn, or tear torn. Torn. When the unclean spirit had torn him, cried with a loud voice and came out of him. It's hard. I don't know really what the word torn means in this case. And that word is used for other unclean spirits that we're going to talk about. So there's more on that coming. But it sounds like he's tearing away from the person. The evil spirit, the devil, whatever, is tearing away from that person. Because in Luke, the person gets thrown to the ground. And I like that they mentioned that he's not hurt. He's fine. But the evil spirit came out and hurt him not. And they were all amazed and spake among themselves, saying, what a word is this? For with authority and power he commandeth the unclean spirits, and they came out. A quick thing here, up in 30, so we're in Luke 4 now. I switch it back and forth. When Jesus first starts teaching the synagogue, people are astonished at his word, for his word was with power. His word was with power. He casts out a devil, and then they say, for with authority and power he commandeth the unclean spirit. So when he's teaching, they says he has power. When he casts out the unclean spirit, he has authority and power, which I think is really cool. Like they think very highly of his teachings, but now he has power and authority. I think Mark just says authority both times. So I like the contrast with Luke and how he goes power and authority from that point. I like the unclean spirits in the New Testament. About 14%, or 1 in 7 miracles that we read about in the Gospels is about Jesus casting out an unclean spirit. And sometimes we don't know what an unclean spirit, or people say that, it's probably someone with some psychosis or some mental challenges or whatever. Like there's something else going on, not really devil. But I think it's evil spirits. I think it's what it says it is. I think when Luke says Satan, the devil, an unclean devil, the devil had thrown him in the midst. I think that is what it says it is. I don't think we should say it. Oh, that actually means he's bipolar or has multiple personalities or whatever. I think it's the devil or spirits that follow him. I think it's truly evil spirits, evil people on the other side of this world, however that works. And I think that they're part of that. And I've seen that a little in my life when people feel like they have a devil or evil spirit in their life, and in looking at their life, a lot of times that they'll have done a lot of stuff to invite the evil spirit into their life. And I think Jesus will always help us cast that evil spirit back out. So I like that. I like that he speaks with the evil spirit. I like particularly the Jews don't recognize him, the evil spirits do. And I hope that we can see Jesus for who he is, and we can recognize his power and his authority. And not everyone recognized that until after he performed the miracle. And again, people were just trying to kill him for who he is. Now in this situation, it's hard to deny who he really is. Something else, I like looking at a few things about miracles. What the miracle is, who requested the miracle, and I'm going to go into this later. Who requested the miracle, what the person had to do to have that miracle take place. Did Jesus say, do this? 2 videos ago, we talked about turning water into wine. They had to go fill up the pots. They had to do some stuff, right? The nobleman in the last video, he asked Jesus twice for his son to be healed, and he was healed. So a lot of times there's timing, there's an action that needs to take place. In this case, no one asks for the evil spirit to be cast out. The evil spirit starts that conversation with Jesus, and Jesus casts him out. Obviously, the evil spirit being extremely uncomfortable in Jesus' presence, and Jesus casts him out. Also, like Jesus doesn't seem like he was scared. Not only was he not scared, like we said, told the spirit to hold his peace. I really like that. But he saw that person, and he healed that one person. In the nobleman's son, it was a miracle for one person being healed. In this story, there's an evil spirit being cast out, which benefits one person. Just one person. And I find that amazing that, there's a lot of people in the world. There's bajillions of people in the world. I don't know how many people were alive or in the area, but a lot of people. And Jesus still took the time to work with one person, cast out the evil spirit from one person. And I love that. And I think that's something extremely important to remember in our lives, that this is what Jesus does. This is how he rolls. This is why he exists, is to perform these miracles on our behalf, help us to learn from them, help us learn from our trials and difficulties and all that jazz, and then help us to conquer this. And he gives us the power to have these miracles in our lives. He makes these miracles in our lives, but he has time for us. He has time for one person. He has time to create miracles in the life of one person. Yes, he was teaching. There was probably a lot of people impacted by his teachings, and it was probably amazing. And I'm sure the only part of this, there's probably a ton of good that happened. We're only hearing about this evil spirit. But I love that it was just one-on-one. He helped the person with the evil spirit. I love that Jesus still does that today. He has time for all of us and is creating miracles for all of us. And it is my hope that whatever evil spirit or whatever it is, the trial in our lives, I hope that Jesus might soon deliver you from that trial and cast out the evil spirit, cast out the illness, cast out whatever it is. And if he hasn't done it yet, know that there is a reason. I know that there's a reason why some of these miracles don't occur yet. I know they can occur, but there's some timing there. And if they haven't occurred in your life yet, maybe just ask Jesus, ask Heavenly Father again, what else you need to learn? What else needs to happen before you can have this miracle in your life? Thanks again for watching. We'll be back next week with another one.